What is up, myself? So I'm RighteousRaikou, just charging you up. So this week in WWE. This week I'm going to be doing the solo, just because it's really, really late in the week for me to be recording this. I'm literally recording this the day that's going to be going up, which obviously today is 25th, etc., etc. So a lot's been happening for the past couple weeks when it comes to WWE. I definitely, like the last week, I should have made a video because there was a couple of things that I wanted to get through, but it just wasn't that powerful of a week to really justify putting in a whole episode. So I'll go over some highlights after we get through the news, and then we'll get straight into our usual coverage. So first, I put this thing first because even though it's the most recent news I have written down, there's some things, according to news, I might leave out because it doesn't really. Some of it's important, some of it's not, and I didn't really keep up on this journal. I'll be honest, which really sucks, considering I probably should have been doing that. Because, like, I was planning to record this on Thursday, like I usually do. I always record several days ahead, so that way I have more than enough time. But I'm going to cover what we're going to have. One bit of news that or a couple bits of news that I forgot to actually write down, which is kind of important, is, one, WWE is in talks with Hulk Hogan, but it's not necessarily about him coming back. Or, like, not immediately. WWE immediately tried to close a deal on it, saying, yeah, no, we're talking to him about relations with racial issues, blah, 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 this and that. Which, it'd be kind of weird to do that if they weren't trying to bring him in for WrestleMania. If they're trying to, like, rush him in to bring him to 34 or even to 35. So it's going to be very, very interesting what they do with that. Another thing which is circulating the rumor mill right now is Roman Reigns has post WrestleMania 34 plans. And if you guys don't want to hear it, don't want to be spoiled, just skip next 30 seconds. I'll keep it kind of brief. He's going to be facing Samoa Joe, supposedly right after 34 as his first rivalry after he gets the title. So that's going to be very, very interesting. Hopefully, we don't see a long reign with Roman Reigns. I don't want it. No one wants it. Honestly, I even joked about it with my friends saying, yeah, what if Carmella kind of just cashed in immediately? Just bam, Carmella's the new Universal Champion. I would die laughing. It would just be so great. But there's that. And then we get to what I finally wrote down, and this is probably the biggest thing you're going to hear out of the past 2 weeks, is Daniel Bryan is medically cleared to wrestle in a WWE ring. Now, I'm going to say that again, because I'm pretty sure some of you guys are going to be completely stumped on that. Bryan is cleared to wrestle in a WWE ring. We haven't seen any of this for 2 years. And after that emotional retirement speech, we actually thought it was going to be done. Like, he had a good career in WWE, and very, very short-lived, but he had a really great career as a wrestler. But now to finally see him lace up his boots again, because they finally decided he's good to go. He visited countless medical professionals, and he's cleared to go face in a ring. And this will impact how it will shape the landscape for the next couple of weeks, which we'll get into on SmackDown, because this is very, very important on what's going to be shaping up. And there is a caveat to this, though, is he's going to have to endure impact testing when it comes to every match he takes. After every match, he has to go through impact testing to make sure that there's no permanent damage, which is honestly for the better. as long as he's not endangering himself, I'm so happy he's back. Words can't describe, and I honestly look forward to seeing every match he produces from here on out. Next bit of news we got is Fabulous Moolah Battle Royal is renamed due to a lot of online controversy, which there's a lot of controversial things Fabulous Moolah has done in the past decades, and like really gross things. I'm pretty sure she pimped out like that it's circulating the rumor mill, so take everything with a grain of salt, but I wouldn't see WWE pulling this move if it wasn't true that she was like pimping out female prospects and all this. She was just supposed to be a disgusting person behind the scenes, and honestly, it's fantastic that she's removed from the name. So now it's just going to be the Women's Battle Royal, and honestly, I'm fine with this. As long as somebody comes out on top, I'm completely okay with this. The next thing we got is the Greatest Royal Rumble, which is going to be held in, I believe, Dubai. Is going to be a WWE Network special. And for those who don't know, the Greatest Royal Rumble is going to be a 50-man Royal Rumble match. So, yeah, it's going to be a long one. No one really knows how it's going to be set up, but I'm not even sure it's going to be really canon, or if there's going to be like a title shot or whatever. I'm not too certain how it's going to work, but it's going to happen after Mania sometime, probably in April, late April, early May. That's what I'm going to guess. And then there is going to be appearances by several champions and all that, just to kind of elevate the scene, have other matches on the card. But it's hard to really have a lot of matches when you have the Greatest Royal Rumble of 50 men. It's just mind-boggling. We got AJ Styles is behind the scenes at Raw this week, whatever you want to call it. Because currently he's speculated to have a possible injury. More than likely it's knee related. And they're trying to pull him away from having a lot of contact before WrestleMania, so that way he can at least wrestle at WrestleMania, give up the championship to Shinsuke, which I'm hoping that's the case. As much as I love AJ Styles, Shinsuke needs a title on him to try to keep rocketing his success. But he does need a manager. His speaking is not very developed for his role, so he either needs a manager or he kind of has to have better skills when it comes to speaking. I know English isn't his first language, but when you're broadcasting to a mainly English crowd, it's going to kind of weigh down on you a little bit. A decent bit of news is Mark Henry is also announced for Hall of Fame. So I actually, and this wasn't even leaked by WWE, it was leaked by, I think it was like USA Today, or it was some person, it was like some news website posted on Twitter. It was like a WWE article and said from the Hall of Pain to the Hall of Fame, and Mark Henry supposedly going to the Hall of Fame, and I'm happy about it. He didn't have the most successful WWE career. Like, he was successful, but obviously, like, he wasn't a major star player like The Rock, Steve Austin, Bret Hart. But he did his job, and he did his job well. He always was an entertaining figure, and I look forward to his induction, unless it's going to be a complete heel turn where he's like, oh, I'm not done yet, and just like World's Strongest Slams the person that's inducting him, which I'd be ecstatic if that happened, but I highly doubt that's the case. And we're going to get into some highlights of last week. So the biggest highlight I want to say was last week's SmackDown, like the week that I didn't post. My days are getting thrown off, so apologies for that. But so Shane McMahon was admonishing Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn for their actions, and saying that at WrestleMania it's going to be Kevin Owens versus Sami Zayn, and the two just completely went berserk after she's just like, oh, what, I'm giving what you want, I'm giving you a WrestleMania match, and they went berserk and pretty much killed Shane McMahon. We're talking about power bombs and just kicks. The man was pop-up power bombed onto a stage equipment in the back. Like, they went to backstage, and this just huge hunk of metal just power bombed. Looked vicious. Shane McMahon just laid there dead. Just fantastic. Selling on Shane's part. 205 Live, always a must watch. It was Cedric Alexander versus Roderick Strong to advance in the Cruiserweight tournament. The match was ridiculously strong. No pun intended. And Cedric Alexander obviously came up with the win. He's in due for that big push. I can't wait for him to actually be crowned. And it's just, they're so great in their division, and Roderick Strong just always a crowd pleaser. I highly suggest watching that match. And then Mixed Match Challenge from that week was not that great. I'm not going to really recommend it. It was Rusev Day, as in Rusev and Lana versus Bobby Roode and Charlotte Flair. It was a good match, but I wouldn't say it was like the best. It was entertaining. You can watch it if you want. We had Pete Dunne versus Adam Cole that week. That was a really good match for the UK Championship. Street Profits versus Heavy Machinery. And then Andre Almas and Alistair Black made the NXT title match official. And that was a pretty decent show to watch. Definitely watch for Dunne versus Cole. Amazing match. And those are personally my highlights. Raw and SmackDown, they really didn't do much. They're kind of setting up heat between AJ and Shinsuke, but it's all it's doing for SmackDown. Raw, it's just all Lesnar and Reigns. And speaking of Raw, we're going to jump to the next segment, which covers, obviously by now you all know, it all covers the shows of the week. So we get to top of the list, Raw. Raw opens up with Reigns being in the building, cutting a promo, and Angle comes out. He's just like, yo, you can't be here. So you're suspended indefinitely and calling the cops, and you're getting arrested. And Roman's like, are you kidding me? He actually does get handcuffed. He fights off the security, and unbeknownst to him, Lesnar's music hits, and Lesnar just beelines straight to the ring. As Roman's trying to find a way to get the handcuffs off, he can't. Gets a chair. Nope, Lesnar ducks a chair, suplex, and just grabs a chair and just immediately beats the living hell out of Reigns. After that, walks away. Reigns is on a stretcher, and after that, another beeline by Lesnar, flips over the gurney, and just causes more and more damage and just walks away. This is effective tactics by Lesnar and effective storytelling. This isn't going to be a fun match for anyone. For those who especially don't like Reigns, but this segment made everything a lot more fun to look forward to, of Lesnar at least trying to just destroy Reigns. But good overall. Bliss had a promo going back to talking about the week prior, that she was kind of like trash talking Nia, that she was only a friend just to use her, blah blah. And Nia ends up coming out later on, like right afterwards. And then next match you get is Bliss versus Asuka. Asuka obviously wins. And then after the match, Nia tries to get a hold of Bliss. Bliss merely escapes. And then she's in the back like, yo, Kurt Angle, you see that? That's like assault. That's like a criminal charge. And he's like, yeah, I saw that. Guess what? You're getting a WrestleMania match against Nia Jax. Which we all knew that was coming. And I honestly look forward to this match. It's going to be so fantastic. Then we had a Strowman promo talking about how he now is forced to find a tag team partner, which I really wish he was just allowed to compete for the tag team championships and made it by himself. I wanted that so bad, but he can't. So right now, he's saying he has to find a tag team partner. My speculations is going to be Elias. It's probably going to be someone else. But I really want it to be Elias, just because they can call themselves a Symphony of Destruction, and I'll be so happy with this. It's a perfect heel team, or you can even, honestly, it doesn't even have to, it will actually be the face team, and Elias is so over right now, he can easily be a face. Just like Rusev, he's on the cusp of being a face, because everyone's chanting Rusev Day. It's so fantastic. Then the bar comes out. It's like, oh, you don't even have a tag team partner, blah, blah, blah. And also the tag team partner is under Strowman's choice, so we'll find that out probably next week or the week prior, unless they're going to save it till the day of Mania, which I don't think they'll do. Because I feel like if you put too much surprise in that factor, there leaves a lot to be disappointed about. At least that's what I see, because it leaves not a lot of room for development when it comes to the story. But we'll see where it goes from there. But the bar basically trash talking. Strowman's like, "Oh, you think it's so tough? Why don't you guys fight me?" So they try to make a beeline, try to figure out, oh, who's gonna verse him, and then enter the ring at the same time. And Sheamus immediately backs out. So it's Strowman versus Cesaro, clean 5 minutes, and Strowman wins. I didn't expect anything less, and I'm happy the fact Strowman got to destroy somebody. Like, granted, Cesaro got a decent amount of offense in, but Strowman just still destroyed him. Destroyed. Next, we had a match of the Revival versus Titus Worldwide. Revival went over. Decent match. I just want the Revival to be utilized better. They were so great in NXT, and a lot of NXT talent is going underutilized, and when they hit the main roster, and it's sad. It really is sad. We had Banks and Bayley versus Absolution, which is Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville, managed by Paige because Paige can't compete. Feels bad, man. Hopefully she'll come back to the ring eventually, but it's not looking so well just because when she got injured back in December, it looked like it was a career-threatening neck injury. And I believe on Twitter she said that she had to retire from competition, or at least she heavily hinted at it. So it's all up to WWE to see where she plays off at this point. If they actually put her in a match, it probably wouldn't be till at least 6 months from the injury, so probably not till June. Just because they want to make sure like she's perfectly okay. But yeah, Banks and Bayley ended up losing. Sonya Deville got a nice like roundhouse kick off. There's a lot of dissension between Banks and Bayley, which is going to set up a nice one-on-one match, I'm hoping, between their whole feud, which it's hard to tell who's the face and who's the heel, just because they both have justifiable actions to what they're doing. Banks betrayed Bayley at Elimination Chamber, and then Bayley betrayed Banks in tag team matches because she's like, oh, well, you know what, clearly I'm not your friend, blah, 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 and just rejects little hugs, etc., etc. So they both have believable motives, and that's what's kind of like a huge toss-up for me. But I'm hoping that's a match at Mania, and I look forward to seeing it if that's the case. We have another Cena promo calling out The Undertaker, and this was a lot more serious than the week prior. It was more serious and more joking at the same time. It's a very weird promo. It's bordering the line of complete wall breaking, where he's like, "Oh, I called him out the week prior and the week before that. Still no answer. And he's straight up like breaking the fourth wall, calling him out, saying like, oh, you have enough time to post on your wife's Instagram, but you don't have enough time to give me a yes or a no. Goes back and forth, and then eventually Kane comes out and chokeslams John Cena and walks away. So this probably is going to lead up to Cena versus Kane the week after that. And hopefully during Cena versus Kane, we'll hear the gong and we'll know that Undertaker's coming out. Because they keep building up this match, and if they completely deflate this, then WWE will really have a grenade in their hands that's going to blow up in their face. And it's really upsetting to see that, if that's the case. Because you can't just do this, get the fans hyped up, and then all of a sudden they're like, nope, not going to happen. It's like, alright, I guess. But we'll find out more about this in the coming week. And then we had Balor Club versus Miz Taraj. Balor Club went over. It was a pretty good match. Nothing really too special. And then we get the moment of the night, which was the ultimate deletion of Woken Matt Hardy versus Bray Wyatt. And if you've seen the final deletion from Impact Wrestling, it's definitely a close replicate to that. I wouldn't say exact. There's a lot of zany moments that would ring true to the nature of final deletion, but there was something off about it, especially when a lot of things were teased and like shown in the promos with like Vanguard 1 and there was the broken boat. I forget its name at this point. I'm upset I did. But that was featured, and that was a huge pivotal moment in the match. And like, if they didn't show images of Rebby Sky until then, or Senior Benjamin, or King Maxwell, or Wolfgang, they would have been perfectly fine. And it would have been so much better. The only big surprise they had of that whole match was probably Brother Nero immediately popping out of nowhere. Because like it was a huge match, a lot of zany comedy. There's a lot to really dissect from that match, and it's kind of hard to. Like, it was showcased as a whole match, but then like back and forth, like, oh, this remind you of anything Bray Wyatt? And it's a barn stable reminds him of Randy Orton burning down Bray Wyatt's barn that Sister Abigail's spirit resided in. And then a big pivotal thing it was the end of the match. Bray Wyatt was on the upper hand, and then Matt Hardy disappeared under the boat. He lifted the boat, and then all of a sudden you see Senior Benjamin holding a inflatable ball that's a globe, tosses it to Bray Wyatt, and you just see Senior Benjamin singing. He's got the whole world in his hands, and then Rebby Sky comes out singing it. Brother Nero sings it, and all of a sudden just Matt pops out of nowhere, twist of fate, 1, 2, 3. It definitely, an ending sequence was great. And then at the end of the match, he not threw, but used like this kind of like kendo stick / pole, and just pushed with all his force into Bray Wyatt, into the Lake of Reincarnation, which, for those who don't know, the Lake of Reincarnation is very famous for bringing back old gimmicks of wrestlers. In the final deletion, when he pushed Jeff Hardy into it, it brought back Jeff Hardy's former gimmick of Willow, which is very, very interesting to say the least. That gimmick is very, very weird. I can't exactly explain it. But now with this, it brings up two questions. With the Lake of Reincarnation, is he now going to be his old NXT character of, instead of like the occultist he became on Raw, he's now going to be like that crazy Bayou man from NXT, his original character, his like first developed character from that. Or he's going to go back to Husky Harris if they're going to keep with that gimmick of the Lake of Reincarnation. I really, really hope it's not Husky Harris, because that's really going to ruin the momentum of Bray Wyatt. It's just, Husky Harris is so bad. I can't begin to describe how bad it was. When he was in the Nexus, he was very, very easily forgettable. I can't really describe more than just that. And that's why they sent him back to NXT once NXT became a show. Or really, it was FCW and then it was NXT, but same difference at that point. But all in all, Raw was okay, but definitely really heavy on build. And that's what I do like to see when it comes to Raw. It's nice to see one-off matches time to time, but build, especially towards a big pay-per-view like WrestleMania, is very, very important. So now we get to SmackDown, which is in some parts probably the most important show of the week, because of obviously Daniel Bryan being medically cleared to wrestle. And this was literally announced he was cleared to wrestle hours before SmackDown. Like, it was a good chunk of time before SmackDown, but like, it was early Tuesday he was cleared to wrestle, and everyone lost their goddamn minds. Even Cultaholic's website crashed just because of how much people are clicking on the links for Daniel Bryan being cleared to wrestle. It was ridiculous. But Daniel Bryan comes out, and he's delivering a heartwarming promo of, it's like, after so much time, he is like thanking his loved ones, the fans, all that, for their support, and now he's finally back in wrestling shape. And it's kind of repetitive when it goes on. It's a whole thank you speech, essentially. And now he's going to try to finally get back into the ring. That's the best way to summarize it. I highly suggest at least watching it. It's definitely worth your time watching. If you're heavily invested into Daniel Bryan as I am, it's definitely worth watching. It's not as heartwarming as like his... Well, really, it's not heartwarming. At that point, it's heartbreaking. His retirement speech, that was arguably one of his biggest moments in his career so far, besides his WrestleMania win. But it was just... It was good, to say the least. So first match tonight, though, we had was Shinsuke Nakamura vs. Rusev rematch. Nakamura wins, but like Rusev has a after-match beatdown. AJ takes his time trying to save Nakamura. Nakamura fights both of them off. Nakamura's like, oh, I'll need your help. Which, it's a nice dynamic to set up for WrestleMania. I will say that. And then after that we had Ty Dillinger versus Baron Corbin. It was an okay match. Both of them are better than what they performed. And it's upsetting what they did, because there was a lot of botched spots. I'm just hoping this means more for both of them down the line. Just, I don't like it. I really don't. And I forgot to announce this, because I think this was announced last week, but there's a triple threat match at Mania. Besides the Intercontinental Championship, there's one for the United States, which is going to be Bobby Roode versus Jinder Mahal versus Randy Orton. And I'm really hoping Jinder doesn't win, because I swear to God, if Jinder wins, I'm going to be the saltiest of people. Because they're like, oh yeah, let's get all the people over that people don't want over. Makes sense. But yeah, Dillinger vs. Corbin was alright. Not the best. Charlotte versus Natalya, it was okay. Charlotte wins. Very pointless match, to say the least. Carmella tried to cash in the briefcase, which was a huge... It's being overplayed, but it's She tried to cash it in. She gave it to the referee, but wasn't fully able to cash it in since the match was still going on. Natalya used this distraction to win and roll up Charlotte. And while Carmella was knocked out, the briefcase was never cashed in. So this kind of hints at Carmella might cash in at Mania, which will be wild. If they run with that, that will be insanely wild. And that's probably going to be the biggest push Carmella ever gets. Though I don't see Carmella ever winning a title, considering she's so not used on SmackDown. But there was a promo by the Usos that followed that match. Very solid promo. And then immediately after that, because the Bludgeon Brothers started walking out, we had Luke Harper versus Jimmy Uso. And that was an okay match. I believe the Bludgeon Brothers went over. I say believe because I'm not sure. And I'm trying to remember a lot of shit that I'm barely able to remember on a regular day. Yeah, Luke Harper ended up going over with that. And it definitely makes them look like huge monsters going into the match. For the triple threat for the Tag Team Championship, I'm pretty sure they're going to end up doing that too. For Bludgeon Brothers versus Usos versus New Day. I'm pretty sure it's going to be a great match. And I'm hoping it kind of opens the show. I don't want it to be pre-show. I just want it to open the show. Because Usos and New Day always steal the show if they open the show. If they're on the pre-show, they'll still steal the show. But it's just kind of more of an injustice, so to speak. That was alright. Next we had Becky Lynch and Naomi versus Riot Squad. It was meh. Becky Lynch and Naomi won, but it was alright. It's literally been the same match we've been seeing over and over, with each team trading wins. Just, I don't know. It was mediocre. Daniel Bryan, and then we get to the final segment, which is Daniel Bryan, Zayn, and Owens on a confrontation. So Daniel Bryan's like, Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens, they come out and they're just like, oh yeah, we're so happy you're finally back to the ring, blah blah this, that, sucking up to Daniel Bryan. He's like, it's like, yeah, thanks guys, but we have to address a serious issue. You can't powerbomb your boss onto metal objects and just escalate to the point of just like, you know what, you guys are fired. And this enrages Zayn and Owens to beat the ever-loving shit out of Daniel Bryan. The man is dead, pronounced deceased on the scene. Just so many heavy strikes, a Helluva kick in the corner, pop a powerbomb to the ring apron. Oh, it was hard to watch in the good way. Like, now you know that Daniel Bryan's good to wrestle if he can take that many bumps. But oh my god, Daniel Bryan was able to hit a couple of yes kicks, so beautiful running drop kicks in the corner. He hit Sami Zayn with the most beautiful and devastating German I've ever seen him hit. Oh my god, like a fully locked in waist lock German, just immediately drops almost on the neck. It's so disgustingly great to watch. Where it legitimately looked like Sami Zayn almost broke his neck. It was a fantastic way to end that SmackDown. Obviously the biggest parts of the night were Daniel Bryan's promo of thanking everybody, and then Daniel Bryan's essentially his first return to that ring. With taking that many bumps. It was so fantastic to watch that. I highly recommend that. That just made SmackDown so much better. Immediately afterward, we had Mixed Match Challenge, which was Miz and Asuka versus Strowman and Bliss. It was a good match. I would say it was a really good match, really good spots. that ever hinted romance between Strowman and Bliss. It never ceases to amaze me, and I just laugh every time. Miz and Asuka obviously won because they keep hyping up Asuka's streak being on the line, which is such a dumb idea considering it makes everything so much more predictable. But yeah, Miz and Asuka wins, then they're going to go to the finals, which is going to be fantastic. So 205 Live, we had a Lucha Party, or Lindsay Dorado accompanied by the rest of the Lucha Party, which is Grand Metalik and Kalisto, versus Hideo Itami with Kira Tozawa. And this was actually a decent match. I kind of skipped through some of it just because I didn't really care to watch this. Like, as much as I like a lot of these people, sans Kalisto, it was actually a really good match. And it was a decent match. Metallica shoved Tommy into the rape into the ring apron to invoke a DQ, so Tommy won by DQ. And I like this whole tag team aspect of the Lucha Party and Hideo Tommy and Kira Tozawa. It's actually pretty nice. It gives more story onto every single character and setting up tag teams and just making the division better. And Tommy is such a good heel. I think they're going to make Akira into more of a heel if they're going to keep that tag team in place, which is going to be so nice, because then he might stop using the senton because it's so over and start just using those more devastating Germans that he used in the Cruiserweight Classic. It's just so nice. Next match we had was TJP versus a jobber named Kenneth Johnson. Match was literally over in like 2 minutes and 40 seconds, something like that. It ended with a detonation kick and a knee bar, just over. I'm hoping this actually sets up TJP for bigger things, because he really does deserve it. And then we get to the final match of the night, which was the best match of that night, obviously, because these never disappoint, is Drew Gulak versus Mustafa Ali for a spot for WrestleMania, because this sets up the WrestleMania match. You win, you go to WrestleMania. Oh my god. I can't describe how great this is. Drew Gulak looked like an absolute monster, tossing Ali into a ring post, and Ali flopped like a fish into the barricade. Oh my god. There was some really dastardly spots. I hit an inverted 450 to get the win. Mustafa is now going to face Cedric Alexander at WrestleMania, which I like this, but I don't, just because I feel like Drew Gulak should have went to WrestleMania. You want a really, really powerful heel to have that conflict of styles, because if you just have somebody who's the same style as the other person, at times the spots are going to look the same. But when you have Drew Gulak just straight up destroying somebody, it makes the babyface look so much better when they finally overcome those odds. Because when it's two babyfaces, you're like, alright. Like, now you're just wondering who wins. Which is the same for almost any other match, but I don't know. I like the babyface versus heel predicament more for WrestleMania, because it's not always the case where the babyface will go over. It's the most it's usually the larger case, but it's not the most obvious, because there's been times that heel went over and some of the crowd went home very, very upset. Or in the case of Seth Rollins being a heel, he wins the Money in the Bank briefcase, cashed in Mania, and becomes the most over superstar of that year. But fantastic match. Please go watch. I beg of you to do so. It's such a fantastic match to watch. Then we get to NXT. Tommaso Ciampa came out, cut a very brief promo. Brief because the crowd was so behind Johnny Gargano being fired. constantly chanting Johnny Wrestling. Tommaso's just like, he's gone! Just straight up yelling, like, he's gone, get over it, blah, blah, blah. Goes around the ring, drops the mic, rips up people's Gargano signs, and then grabs one Gargano sign, and behind said sign is Johnny Gargano, jumps Tommaso Ciampa and just starts beating the ever-living crap out of him. And then at least like 6 security people come down and restrict Johnny Gargano out of the building. And I'm really hoping that next week sets up Johnny Gargano versus Tommaso Ciampa in an unsanctioned match. I just want it to happen. It needs to happen so much. Because that looks like the way, but we don't know. There was a quick segment saying how Mustache Man was injured, so they have to withdraw from the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic. So now Lorcan and Birch need an opponent. Strong's like, yo, I want to compete in this classic match. I'll find a partner. Just let me in the match. William Regal allowed it. So only Lorcan and Danny Birch, they make their entrances, and Roderick Strong does. And now we wait to find out what his tag team partner is. And it's none other than the Bruiserweight Pete Dunne. The crowd was completely electric. I wasn't shocked because I kind of knew what was happening because I read up on spoilers and then end up hating myself because I end up ruining some things for myself. But at the same time, I never ruin match results usually, and I always end up watching a match anyway just because I want to see how good it really is. And this match was fantastic. Amazing chemistry between all 4 men. Lorcan and Birch try to overcome the odds. But it all ended with the end of Heartache on, I believe it was only Lorcan. Birch was restrained at ringside by Pete Dunne, and Dunne and Strong move on to face Sanity in the next week. And I honestly look forward to it. Then we get Ember Moon versus Aaliyah, non-title match. Moon wins. Shayna Baszler was ringside, just straight up staring down Moon, trying to set up more heat on Shayna Baszler at TakeOver, and I'm really hoping that Shayna Baszler wins just to make her become this arrogant bully that can straight up do whatever, anything she wants. And I honestly think she's better than Brock Lesnar when it comes to speaking and getting her point across. Brock Lesnar gets his point across by smashing people open, and she does that too by trying to straight up snap somebody's arm off, make him tap out or make them nap, as she likes to call it, tap, snap, or nap. But she also knows how to talk on the mic decently well, to the point of she's not quite a ring veteran, but she knows what she's doing, and it's very impressive to see. Like, she was probably only on the independent scene for maybe 3 or 4 years, and WWE immediately brought her to the Classic, the Women's Classic, and then put her on NXT. It's fantastic. I continue to be impressed by her. It's just fantastic. After that, we had an Almas promo. He mainly spoke in Spanish, so I can't really translate what he said. It was something about him being the champion, how he should be respected, and then eventually just called Almas a piece of shit. It was alright. I think he needs to rely more on Zelina Vega. He needs someone like her to do the speaking for him. She's one of the best managers. I seen briefly what she can do in a ring, and if it was Almas and Zelina versus Candice LeRae and Johnny Gargano, it'd be a fantastic match. Hell, I think they're trying to set up Zelina Vega versus Candice LeRae, and I'd be so ecstatic for that for TakeOver. It'd be fantastic. I'd be complete 100% behind it. And then the last match of the night, which was fantastic. It was actually mentioned, I believe, in like the opening segment of NXT. Like it was like a mini pre-recorded promo of Cole saying like, "Oh, you guys don't have to be at ringside tonight. I got this myself." It's like, you know this. I got this. You don't even need. And he faced Cassius Ohno. It was just a big match for Cole. It showed what he's really truly capable of doing. Cassius Ohno, he truly is the gatekeeper of NXT, and I don't say that to be negative, because really, if you want to go through to the main event scene, you have to go through Cassius Ohno, and it's a good way to elevate the people to main event status, because a big man like Cassius Ohno, he could be a main eventer easily. The only problem is I think he just lacks a little bit of connection with the audience, and there's just some other small issues I find, but nothing's really stopping him from going onward and upward with his career. But all in all, that match was so solid. There was a lot of like finishers, close finishes, and a lot of finishers hit. Cole hit like at least like 3 last shots. He managed to put away Cassius Ohno with a last shot, and then Shining Wizard to the back of the head. It was just a great match. It just shows what Cole is truly capable of doing, and I look forward to holding a championship. And that's going to do for this week in WWE. Like, subscribe, do what you do. I'm very appreciative for all you guys' support, because it really does help me try to get motivation actually doing these. Because I do like doing these, but with a little bit more motivation, I actually be like, you know what, maybe I should actually record today instead of being a lazy piece of shit. And sorry I didn't have Conscious as usual with me to bounce off of, but I kind of couldn't really ask him at last minute to do this. I literally had to find time in my day where I'm like, I immediately have to do this now. And hopefully I can get everything else out from here on out on a more consistent basis. But thank you guys very much for watching. This is RighteousRaikou signing out. Remind you guys to keep riding the lightning.